Can you now see the shared screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So again, before we move on to the lesson today or the discussion today, let me recall or recap what we have discussed yesterday or what I have discussed yesterday. Yesterday, I discussed the remaining major principles when it comes to learner-centered psychological principles. Again, there are four which are clustered. Okay, supposed to be there are 14 learning principles, but they are clustered into four major principles. Namely, we have cognitive and metacognitive factors or principles. The second one will be the motivational and affective factors. Third, we have the developmental and social factors. And lastly, uh, the last principle that have been discussed yesterday was all about individual differences. So what do we need to remember is that if we're talking about cognitive and metacognitive factors, it deals with the mind. Okay, everything that or all the processes that occurs in the mind. So this is what we call the uh, mental processes. Now, for the motivational and effective, what you need to remember is that for if for cognitive and metacognitive factors, it focuses on the mind. For motivational and effective, it focuses on the heart. Okay, so everything that kumbaga, it revolves around the heart. So for motivational, when we say motivational factors, we go back to the root word motivation, which means it is how the learners push themselves in order to learn or how to push themselves towards learning. Now, for the effective, again, these are factors which relate to attitude, feelings, emotions of the learner. Now, for the third major principle, we have developmental and social. What do you need to remember when we say developmental factors? The holistic approach or holistic development. When we say holistic development, it covers every aspect of development. Some to name a few, we have physical, okay, social, emotional, intellectual development. So I also emphasized if you only focus on one aspect, we have the term or we coin it as a learner who is a nerd. Okay, so especially we have a connotation. When we say nerd, we pertain it to people who focus on the intellectual aspect only. Okay, but again, when we say nerd, it focuses on one aspect. It could be he or she focuses on the physical aspect only. Okay, a classic example, ay, magaling lang yan siya sa sports, pero pag dating sa classroom, wala yan. Okay, walang kwenta yan. Wala na nabalaan. Okay, another thing, if one learner focuses on the emotional aspect only, okay, o meron tayong mga uh, kumbaga ay notions na ay grabe ba na siya puro emotion lang wala gid kaisip wala gid ginagamit ang utok. Okay, so those are what we call or the term nerd. Okay, now next we have the last major principle, which is individual differences. Okay, which talks about the uniqueness, okay, in spite of I mean, the diversity of the learners inside the learning environment or classroom per se. Okay, you as a teacher need to uh, think of strategies and techniques in order to cater the diversity and uniqueness in every learner. Okay, so again, those are the major principles for learner-centered psychological principles. Now we will move on. Okay, also yesterday I uh, discussed about, okay, not yet. Okay, so yun lang. So for today, we will now discuss about the second lesson or second chapter, which is about metacognition. So please, eyes on your screen. Metacognition, thinking about thinking. Okay. So we have a quote here coming from Margaret Mead. She said that, quote unquote, okay, children must be taught how to think, not what to think. So again, going back to our discussion, uh, and the major principles, cognitive and metacognitive. So when we say cognitive, okay, mental processes, what what are they thinking about? When we say metacognition, how, okay, how the learners think. So sabi ni Margaret Mead, doon tayo mag-focus, or that's how learners should be taught. We need to focus on the metacognition. Okay, so we have an introduction here. Okay, wait lang. So today, facilitating learning is aimed at assisting learners in acquiring expected competencies. Now, other term for competencies here, class, okay, this is what we know na mga objectives or kumbaga higher ano kasi itong competencies. Okay, kumbaga sa curriculum na yan siya na level. Pag nasa classroom yan siya na level, yun yung tinatawag na objectives. Okay? Now next, in addition, the facilitation of learning addresses the expected competencies to help them understand their learning and thinking. Sabi dito, according to the research findings, it showed that metacognitive thinking, okay, operates as a vital skill. When we say vital, it's important, essential, or integral. Okay? Vital skill to other skills like problem solving, creative thinking, and critical thinking. Okay, so when you say problem solving, automatic, there is metacognitive thinking. Same is true with same is true with creative thinking and critical thinking. Now, because a few decades ago, okay, or a few years back, the idea of metacognition has not been taught. Kumbaga, na-disregard siya and we only focus on the cognition part. Now, in this chapter, here are the learning objectives for this chapter. Of course, you are able to explain what metacognition is and what are the components when we say metacognition. Next, you are able to delineate the relationship between metacognitive knowledge and metacognitive processes. When we say delineate, kumbaga, find, okay, the relationship or making a connection between metacognitive knowledge and metacognitive processes. And lastly, you're able to identify effective teaching strategies. Again, because you are future educators, you are able to identify what strategy is appropriate in a certain situation or a certain scenario. Okay, kasi if you are not able to identify what is the appropriate approach here, in this classroom or in this learning environment? What will be the appropriate approach if the class or the class is homogeneous or heterogeneous? Okay. So here are some questions. Okay. Just to ponder. When we say metacognition, am I understanding the message the author has written? Not only what does the author tell us, but further understanding the message. What does the author want to convey? Next, what do I know about this story? Of course, that is still essential. Your basic knowledge of certain things. And last is, I am sure my answer is correct. Of course, if there are questions with regards in this scenario, with regards to the what the author has written, okay, you are certain enough that you can answer it. Next, okay. Now here's the lesson one: metacognition and metacognitive knowledge. Of course, you have some uh, I mean objectives there, meaning of metacognition. You are able to define what is metacognition and metacognitive knowledge. Next, determine metacognitive knowledge required in a specific competency. Now, later on, we will identify or I will discuss what are the different components when it comes to metacognitive knowledge. And of course, which is very important, okay? You're able to apply what you have learned here, not only in my class, but of course in your future endeavors. Now, let us think, what is really the definition of metacognition? Now, when we say metacognition, we automatically associate it with Flavel, okay? A metacognitive scientist. Again, when we say metacognition, automatic, we say Flavel. He described it as knowledge concerning one's cognitive processes. Okay, again, knowledge concerning one's cognitive processes and products or anything related to them. Now, for example, okay, the learning relevant properties of information and data. Furthermore, he said that metacognition, okay, is the active monitoring and consequent regulation. Again, when we say metacognition, not only about knowledge of the cognitive processes and products, but also active monitoring and consequent regulation of the processes, of course. Monitoring what? Regulating what? The cognitive processes and products. Again, that is according to Flavel again. To make it simpler, there are like connotations when it comes to metacognition. Sabi niya, again, coming from Flavel, metacognition is the knowledge and cognition about cognitive phenomena. Merong metamorphosis. Sabi niya, metacognition, basta metacognition, thinking about thinking, knowing about knowing, and cognition about cognition. Now, as what I have mentioned earlier, when we say metacognition, there are different components. Actually, there are only two. Okay? There are only two components when it comes to uh, metacognition. What are those? It's metacognitive knowledge and metacognitive regulation. Now, Please do take note that these two components or elements are somehow interrelated. Okay, kasi nga component siya, part siya ng metacognition. Without the other component, then it does not complete the idea of metacognition. So for example, uh, metacognitive knowledge lang, pero walang regulation. Still, metacognition is not authentic. Kumbaga, in the other way around, kung regulation lang ang meron, walang knowledge, then chances are metacognition or the process behind metacognition will not be effective. Now, let's deal first with the first component or first element, which is metacognitive knowledge. Or it is also known as knowledge of cognition. Again, metacognitive knowledge, knowledge of cognition. According to Shro, okay, kay Shro naman, it is what individuals know about their cognition, okay, or cognition in general. Yun yung kay Shro. Now, under metacognitive knowledge, there are kumbaga, subcomponents when it comes to metacognitive knowledge. What are those? Okay, hindi masyado klaro ang figure, no? So we have declarative, we have procedural, and conditional knowledge. So those are, again, let's go back earlier. When we say metacognition, there are two components for metacognition. That is, okay, metacognitive knowledge and metacognitive regulation. Now, under metacognitive knowledge, it is subdivided into three again: declarative, procedural, and conditional. Sir, what is declarative? What is procedural? What is conditional? Now, when we say declarative, also known as personal knowledge, it is actually the learner's knowledge about things. Also, it refers to the learner's understanding of his or her own abilities, knowledge about oneself as a learner, and the factors that moderate one's performance. So, yun yung parang kumbaga what encapsulates declarative knowledge about things. Now, this type of knowledge is not always accurate. Again, kasi nga, it depends on whom the learner's knowledge. So it does not mean that, for example, I am a learner. It does not mean that if I say the earth is round, it is accurate. Okay? Because again, it depends on my own perception. Okay? But most of the time, declarative knowledge will be correct. Why? Because again, when we say knowledge or metacognition, mental processes, okay, we base it from ano gani yung dalawa, no? That is under cognitive and metacognitive na ano, na factor, yung information and experiences. Okay? Yun yung under sa cognitive and metacognitive. Now, we have an example here. Let us say, yung Manila, okay, is the capital of the Philippines. Oasis is the plural form of oasis, are examples of declarative knowledge. Now, let me go back to this statement. Not always accurate. Okay, kasi for example, for me, I believe that oasis, okay, plural form siya ng oasis, then I implied that to another example, mali pala yung plural form. Just like ox and oxen. Tama ba? Oh, yun. Another, deer and deer. Okay, so again, the semantic rules, okay, when it comes to that example, okay, parang hindi siya accurate all the time. Next, we have procedural. Okay. Now, from the root word procedure, okay, it is also known as task knowledge. It involves the knowledge of how to do things and how skills or competencies are executed. And yung pa mga keywords when it comes to procedural knowledge, how to do things and how skills and competencies are executed. Now, the assessment on the learner's task knowledge includes what knowledge is needed, kung ano ang content na kailangan, the space available to communicate what is known, the length. Okay? So, yun yung mga kailangan when it comes to task knowledge. Or ito yung mga nagpapaloob or kasama sa procedural knowledge or task knowledge. Now, a learner given a problem-solving task knows that the prerequisite information and prior skills are necessary to be recalled and readily executed at the given time to solve the problem. Again, sa procedural, kailangan mo ng prior knowledge. Now, let us put it into context. Procedure, step by step. Okay, so kailangan mo malaman yung mga step by step muna na process bago mo magagawa yung task or before you can solve the problem. Okay? Now, example. Merong math problem about multiplying binomial expressions. And then, before you could do that, you need to recall, paano ba mag-multiply ng binomial expressions? So that's the time that procedural knowledge is very important. Okay? And last, again, we have three components under metacognitive knowledge. The last one is conditional knowledge or strategy knowledge. It refers to the ability to know, ito yung parang keyword, when and why various cognitive acts should be applied. It involves using strategies to learn information, knowing how to know, as well as adapting them to novel context, knowing when a strategy is appropriate. Kumbaga, root word, condition, i-consider mo muna kung ano ang condition of the task, and you find a strategy, an approach, okay, in order to solve the problem or to do the task. This knowledge is evident in a learner who seeks the help of a school nurse to make a report on the communicable diseases prevalent in the community, as well as this learner's knowledge that the best way to gather the information is to interview a nurse and to go over the health records of the municipal health office of the town. So again, metacognitive knowledge divided into three: declarative, procedural, and conditional. Now, again, according to Clavel, yung metacognitive daw, the knowledge, came from metacognitive experiences. Again, ang metacognitive knowledge came from experiences. Metacognitive experience, as what is mentioned earlier here. Information and experience, but for this instance, we focus on the experiences, building the metacognitive knowledge. Okay? So, just like metacognitive processes, yung metacognitive knowledge is dependent on meta memory. the knowledge of what memory is, how it works, and how to remember things. Now, what is the solution? Through instruction and individual effort. Okay? Then they develop yung meta memory. Not only that one, eventually it will contribute to metacognitive experiences. Okay? So, ang sinasabi, kung rich ang meta memory, okay, it will, okay, add up to the experiences. Eventually, you will have a good metacognitive knowledge. Or kumbaga, it will be strong. Okay? So that's for the lesson 1, metacognition and metacognitive knowledge. So we have an experience here, okay, which will be discussed. This is actually an introduction for the next uh, succeeding lessons. Okay, yeah, let's move on to the next topic, which is metacognitive regulation and control. Of course, you have the objectives there, meaning of metacognitive regulation, dominant, determine your dominant approach when it comes to learning and studying, analyze the relationship among the 3 metacognitive processes, yung planning, monitoring, and evaluating. And lastly, operationalize metacognitive processes in a given situation or context.
Oh. Cool.
Okay, excuse me. Kindly turn off your microphones. Now, let's move on. Again, recall that metacognitive regulation is another element of metacognition. Recalling, the first element that have been discussed was metacognitive knowledge. Under metacognitive knowledge, there are 3: declarative, procedural, and conditional. Okay? Now, same is true with metacognitive regulation. Later on, we will discuss the different processes involved in regulation. Moving on. Okay, metacognitive knowledge refers to the learner's knowledge or beliefs about the factors that affect cognitive skills, metacognitive. Now, metacognitive regulation pertains to their ability, please take note of this, keep track of and assess their knowledge or learning. It includes their ability to find out what, when, and how to use a particular skill for a given task. In this manner, they can control their learning. Keyword: self-regulation is essential in metacognition. Next, we have an example through an illustration there. How do we determine or how do we identify which part is a regulation in a given metacognitive process or given mental process? We have here a speech class. He or she knows when a word is mispronounced as it sounds unpleasant. Thus, he or she consults an electronic dictionary to listen to how the word should be pronounced. Following the model, the pronunciation is improved. So that is already part of the regulation. When the student consulted an electronic dictionary, regulation, monitor, okay, checking. Now, as what I have mentioned earlier, just like metacognitive knowledge, which is divided into 3, metacognitive regulation is also or must undergo 3 processes as well. First, setting goals and planning. Next, monitoring and controlling learning. And lastly, last, it is evaluating own regulation. So we have a figure here. Okay. We have first planning. You start by planning first. Next, you monitor how the process works. And last, you evaluate or assess. Check whether the strategy technique you used is effective or not. Now, the first process is planning. Now, according to Schroe, it involves the selection of appropriate strategies. Again, even the selection will be part of the planning. Also, not only that one, not only the selection of strategies, techniques, but also the allocation of resources. Why? Because if you can do selecting and allocating resources, it results to a good performance. Or again, let me reiterate that selection of strategies and allocation of resources will affect learners' performance. Moreover, together with setting goals, planning is considered a central part of students' ability to control their learning process and to learn outcomes through deliberate self-regulatory decisions and actions. Goals. When we say goals, it is divided into two, mastery and performance. Now, hear me out. It's very important. What are the characteristics of mastery and performance? Now, when we say mastery, okay, here are the characteristics. First is intrinsic. Next, it is more self-regulatory. Third, okay, there is the idea of conceptual change. Fourth, you see errors as part of learning. Okay? Since you see errors as part of learning, then you become satisfied if there is a progress. Okay? So yun yung sa mastery goal. Now, to sum it up, pag sinabi nating mastery goals, it is focused on the process, the learning, and the development. Okay? On the other hand, we have the performance. Contrary to mastery goals, when you say performance, it is more extrinsic, less self-regulatory. Uh, there could be no conceptual change, or if there is conceptual change, it is very minimal. Okay? So yun yung sa performance. What else? When it comes to errors, they see it as a failure or sign of failure. Errors as sign of failure or failures. Next, since you see errors as failures, you are only satisfied if you succeed. Okay? Kung hindi ka mag-succeed, then you're a failure. And you're not satisfied at the end of the day. Now, to sum it up, pag performance goals, you are product-oriented, you are very competent because you base your satisfaction on products, okay? And you compare it with others. So you become very competent or competitive. So that's for performance goals. Now, what does the proponent, okay, try to tell us? Yes, goals. There are two types, but we need to focus more on the mastery goals. Why? Because our aim is we want our learners to be more self-regulatory. Pag sinabi natin self-regulatory, they become more independent, okay? Less guidance, okay? Up until no guidance at all, where they can do everything on their own, self-directed, okay? So yun yung aim. Dapat mas maraming mastery goals as compared to performance. So going back to motivation, pag mastery goals kasi, it's more intrinsic, or the motivation is more intrinsic, while performance, the motivation is more extrinsic. Okay? Now, an example is a student who desires to get high grades. Okay, so that is actually performance. Why? He want to like uh uh show that he is intellectual or intelligent uh to his other classmates or to other students. Now another example of mastery goal is that, for example, there is a portfolio, okay, that your teacher wants you to make, and you really want to become, or you want your output, you want your work to be the best, you take into consideration the criteria only. You're not looking on, yung classmate ko ganito lang yung ginawa. Okay? But if it is a mastery goal, let us say yung criteria ng portfolio is artistry or creativeness, okay, organization, okay, construction, yun talaga yung sinusunod mo. You base your task or your performance, or I mean the result, on the criteria alone, not on the others. Okay? Next, now let's delve deeper on monitoring. That is actually the planning part. Now, for the monitoring, this refers to one's ongoing awareness of comprehension and task performance, referred to as metacognitive monitoring and controlling learning. It involves the monitoring of a person's thinking process and the current state of knowledge. Again, thinking process or processes and current state of knowledge. Given a task, it involves the awareness of the person that the prerequisite knowledge and process to manage the task is sufficient to succeed in it. It also involves the ability to consider the accuracy of the knowledge and procedure to solve the task. If ever, okay, please take note. This is very important for monitoring, or on the process of monitoring. It is very important that if there is inadequacy, okay, if the learner felt that there is something lacking, okay, the learner himself can control the processes undertaken to still succeed in the resolution of the task. Or kumbaga, kahit may kulang, okay, yung learner mismo will check, will somehow make a realization, uy, dali may kulang, sige lang, imuon lang gyapon. Okay, we will still push through the task. Now, another example, concrete example, a student who answers a word problem in mathematics is aware of the steps to follow to solve the task. So that is a concrete example. Kumbaga, multiplying binomial expressions, we use FOIL method. First, outer, inner, last. Okay, so you know the process, the step by step. Now, it is connected to procedural knowledge. Now, going back to planning, if monitoring needs procedural knowledge for planning, um, it needs declarative knowledge. And lastly, we have evaluating, assessing knowledge or learning. It refers to appraising the products and efficiency of one's learning. It involves the person's ability to evaluate how well the strategies are used to lead to the solution of the problem or completion of the task. It tells whether or not the procedure resulted to the correct answer or different answer. Okay? So that's for evaluating. Kumbaga, once you monitor, once the task is done, you try to check saan ba nagmali. For example, yung sa FOIL method in multiplying binomial expressions la, mali lagi gyapon ang result or ang answer ko. That's the time you evaluate. Okay? Where did I go wrong? Or what went wrong along the process? Okay? So another experience which will lead to the last lesson, metacognitive instruction. So of course, explain fundamental principles to teach metacognitive skills, identify metacognitive strategies for a particular lesson, and operationalize metacognitive processes. So first off, what are the principles of metacognitive instruction? Actually, there are three. Okay. First, metacognitive instruction should be embedded in context of the task. Okay, again, you need to consider the context of the task. In order to allow for connecting task-specific condition knowledge to the procedural knowledge of how the skill is applied in the context of the task. Again, the first principle is about the context of the task. Second, learners should be informed about the benefit of applying metacognitive skills in order to make them exert the initial extra effort. Okay, so through the second, excuse me, the second principle is that there is a benefit, okay, of applying the metacognitive skills wherein it leads the learners to have extra effort. And lastly, instruction and training should be stretched over time, thus allowing for the formation of the production rules and ensuring the smooth and maintained application of the metacognitive skills. Now, kumbaga walang minamadali. Dahan-dahan lang, stretched over time. Now, what are the principles for effective metacognitive metacognitive instruction? There are teaching strategies. Okay, first, using graphic organizers. These are visual illustrations displaying the relationship between facts, information, ideas, or concepts. Okay, second, think aloud. Helps learners to think aloud about their thinking as they undertake a task. Journalizing, okay, can be used together with think aloud. In a journal, learners write what was in their mind when they selected an answer and reasons for their choice. Have you recalled the time that your teacher let you wrote a journal entry and then, for example, second year high school yun or grade 8. Tapos nakita mo yung notebook ko grade 10. And then you realize, ganito pala ako mag-isip dati. Okay, so that's part of journalizing. Next, we have error analysis, a systematic approach for using feedback metacognitively to improve one's future performance. Okay. Next, we have wrapper. Second to the last, wrapper, an activity that fosters learners' metacognition before, during, and after a class. Okay. And lastly, peer mentoring. What is important for peer mentoring is that, of course, you have a peer who is more informed and more skilled than you or than the learner. Because we have a misconception of peer mentoring. Basta amigo ko lang, basta ang peer ko lang, okay na siya. Okay? That's a misconception. When we say peer mentoring, you have a peer or somebody, okay? Somebody that who is more informed and more skillful than you. Because why? What happens? Because those more knowledgeable others will help you achieve the task or finish the task. Yun yung peer mentoring, no? So, enough of, kumbaga, peer mentoring tayo. Ay, siya na lang, kay siya man ang pinakalapit sa amon balay. Okay? Now, because of this peer mentoring, we have the idea of novice learners and experts. So the experts should be the ones guiding the novice learners, not the other way around. Okay? So that's it for the discussion today.